This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social. I'm now joined by the source, Lawrence Okolie. A couple hours later than what we agreed on, Lawrence, but it's all good. Thanks for speaking to us. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. As you see, now to finish my boxing session, so I'm in, good preparation, good shape.
An intense sparring session I've just seen as well. Talk me through your camp up until obviously your British title fight next week with Matty Askin. How's it been?
The camp so far, yeah. The camp so far has been good. The same as always, I just build from camp to camp on the fitness that I built from the camp before. So it's just been the same as usual, just trying to beat times, push myself. So all that's been happening. In terms of sparring, yeah, sparring. I spar good people all the time. Some days are intense, some days aren't. Today I felt like having a bit of a, punch up, so it was good. As you saw, I don't take too much damage, but I like to give it out. Fun.
A lot of sharp combinations I saw you working on as well, especially that left hook and using your jab very well. Is that something that you feel is going to be key to your fight next weekend?
I just feel being myself is the key to winning. It's a case of Ashes is a good all-round fighter, so it's hard to pick weaknesses where I say, if he throws this shot, I'm going to throw that shot. So I'm just focused on just being as the best version of myself I can be. So as you see, I'm best when I'm extremely explosive, extremely dangerous, and I can maintain it round after round after round. There's a lot of people with my makeup who are explosive, they're explosive, there's drops, but we work on making sure that I'm explosive from round one to whenever the fight ends.
Does that style you just mentioned, the explosive style, does that bring its own risks in the sense of you don't want to be caught out trying to push for a victory or a stoppage where you could get caught with a counter or something?
Not really, do you know what I mean? Because there's times you do it, times you don't do it. I don't just go in with my eyes closed, throwing shot after shot after shot. The untrained eye would say from my fights that I'm raw or this, that, another. But when you either face me and you're looking back and seeing that, how did that happen? That's when people realise, oh wait, he was doing this, doing that. And even if you know what I'm doing, there's really nothing you can do about it, especially at this level. As you climb up the levels, certain tactics I won't be able to do because they're better fighters, but we'll see what I do to Askins.
So I mean, what is Matty Askin bringing into this fight that you may not have had to come up against previously?
Size, strength, movement on the feet, good boxing IQ, confidence, the mindset of a champion. What else? He's hungry, he's got his own motivations, whether or not I agree with them fully or whatever. And yeah, he'll be confident, like in his mind and in his team's mind, he's the favourite, so that's what he's got.
You've just mentioned levels, so in your own mind, do you feel that you're only at British level? Do you actually feel that you're better than that, but you have to just continue to take this route to build up your own career? Yeah,
I mean, obviously I can think whatever I want of myself. Like I watch world level fighters and think I can compete, but I have to prove it to myself on the actual stage where it matters. In terms of British level, yeah, I don't really see any of them as on my level. Matty is probably the best out of the rest of them so far, as you can see from his last few fights. But at the moment, there isn't an Oval McKenzie, you know what I mean? There isn't John Lewis Dickinson at the moment, so it is where it is right now. The division is where it is. It's got a lot of good, reasonable level fighters, but the top fighters that were here are now gone, so it's up to people like myself and that to push on and become those levels.
So obviously if you come through next week unscathed, you've got the win, you've got a British title under your belt as well then. Is it something that you want to look to win outright, or do you feel that because there aren't that many fights out there for you, you'd automatically look to push elsewhere?
It really depends on how the fight goes. If it's if I knock out Askins badly early, then probably I'll start trying to push on to like another level. But if it is a hard fight and we're going back and forth and I edge a decision or something like that, which I don't see is happening, but if it was happen, then I would reassess, maybe have a couple more at this level. But if it's simple, easy work, then we'll move on.
Before we do go on to talk about what could be down the road for you, I just want to start to get into maybe your route into boxing then. Yeah. So what was the motivation behind you getting into the sport?
My motivation was just losing weight. So when I started boxing, I was 120 kilos, getting bullied, etc. So I just had to do stuff for health reasons, and after, you know, months of just dedication and that, the weight fell off, and then, you know, as I fell in love with boxing, I just started fighting.
I've read about, you know, the weight issues that you've just mentioned. How old was you when you actually did start boxing?
16, 17, you know, but then when I really started taking it seriously, it was 18, like, in terms of fighting.
So, you know, like you mentioned like the weight issues that you had. How did that impact you as 17, 18 with regards to your own life, or, you know, maybe did you have people who tried to bully you or tried to get?
As I got older, it got a lot harder for people to bully me because obviously I'm a big guy. But it changed in terms of my confidence levels, the way that I interact with people, my public speaking even. So, you know, I stopped being so shy. On top of that, girls didn't like me before. Now girls like me. It's just all them little things, you know.
You know, like all these little things. Do you feel that? Do you feel a bit like justified? Not necessarily justified, but, you know, some of these guys who may not have given you the time of day when you was in that situation, and now they're seeing you on with AJ, they're seeing you with all these amazing events, and they think they might message you or try and get in touch with you and be like, oh, I want to try and jump on the Lawrence Okolie train. Has that been the case in some situations?
It's quite difficult for people to obviously do that because I have a very, like, solid set group of friends, the Penny Boys and various other people who I've known for a long time, and it makes it easier for me, so I don't really start creating new friends. I just have the same set that are with me. My life is very, I don't want to say basic, but it's very samey. That I come to the gym 2-3 times a day, go home, play games with them. It's just like it's like my life's quite simple. So if I was out all the time, maybe then you start making new friends, whatever. But I have a very simple life.
So you haven't had anyone who you know wasn't maybe the best person to you previously, who has just tried to get back in touch? And
no, I mean, obviously you have people trying it, but like I said, I have a set group of, so it's like I don't really want new friends. I don't really, so people reach out, but thanks, you know, for the congratulations, whatever. But no, I don't want to meet up. No, I don't want to. You know what I mean? I'm doing stuff, so simple.
now, I'm not from London. I'm from Birmingham, so I don't really know the area well. But I read that you were born in Hackney. I don't know. Do you still live over Hackney?
Yeah.
So what is Hackney like as an area?
Oh, no, it's fun. You know, it's just it's changing. Obviously, after the Olympics in 2012, they put a lot more money into the area. So, you know, they have pop-up shops, a lot of health foods, a lot of different people moving into the area. So it's different now. Obviously, when we were younger, there was a lot of, you know, gang stuff and whatever, but now that's a little bit more underground than it was before. It was on the high street, now it's on the back road, so it is what it is.
That's what I was going to ask you. I've only just done research into it, so I can't speak from any experience, but was that something that you experienced growing up, that you could see stuff like that going on, so it was difficult for you to try and get away from that area?
Yeah, fortunately I had the boxing gym, so it was easy for me to go and train there, or, you know, my particular area was alright. Areas nearby were a little bit more involved, I would say. So for me, I was alright where I was quite cool with a lot of different people. I didn't really need to overindulge. So I feel like a lot of people get involved in gang stuff out of fear, you know. But fortunately, I wasn't scared as much as I had to deal with other stuff. Gang stuff wasn't anything I had to deal with.
So obviously, like you've mentioned, boxing for you was just a way out for you. It was a way for you to better yourself. There are people who may not have had that opportunity, who may have fallen into gang situations. Was you ever in that situation where you felt yourself you may actually fall into something like that because you couldn't see a way forwards, or you couldn't see what you wanted to do with your career? You
know, sometimes it can be tempting, but the risk reward didn't make sense to me. You know, obviously I was fortunate enough, I, you know, had parents that wanted me to, you know, go to uni and stuff like that. So I had sort of structure and direction, but and I never really wanted outside of my means that my parents could give me. So I never wanted the designer stuff. I never wanted the cars and, you know, all that kind of stuff that was available quickly with that kind of life. So for me, it was alright because I wasn't hungry for those things.
So did you ever have maybe people who you knew who did fall into them crowds, and was it that difficult for you to maybe see someone who you did care about in those types of situations?
I think anyone from the type of area that I'm from knows people that are involved in that kind of stuff, so, you know, you just get accustomed to it. So, but now, you know, we're all getting to that age now where we're shaping our own lives in different directions. A lot of people were involved in that stuff, and as you get older and see there's a bigger world, you start looking for other stuff. So yeah.
So the other stuff for you was obviously boxing. So was it for you? Was boxing your way out? Was it the way for you to better yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it is my career now, so it definitely was. Otherwise, I would have been a social worker or something like that. So boxing is a much better choice for me. So yeah.
I was going to say, what do you think you would have done if it wasn't for boxing?
Yeah, probably that. Probably social worker or something like that. I went to uni to study psychosocial studies, so probably something along those lines.
So now let's obviously move on with your boxing and your amateur career and your background. Talk me through your amateur days and obviously training up with Rob McCracken in Sheffield.
Yeah, no, my amateur days was pretty straightforward. I used to train at Lions, Repton and Dagenham throughout my amateur career, and it was a case of just going to the gym, training day in, day out. When they say there's a fight, I'd go and have a fight, go home. I never really got involved in like the boxing circles. I wasn't at the shows. It was literally just train, go home, train, go home. And then, I won like some junior stuff. Like, the 17, 18 was the maximum age. So it stopped me from going into novices. So I had to go to ABAs where I boxed Branch, lost the first time, won the second time. The time I lost, he actually got to the finals that year. So from that win over James Branch and doing it with a injury, the GB team obviously knew about me, knew about the injury. I knew that I still won the fight, so I got called up for assessment, got to GB team, and yeah, just went from strength to strength there. Managed to get to the Olympics, turned professional now, and yeah, we're here.
So for you, you didn't actually enjoy watching boxing or going to the shows when you was first starting out?
No, definitely not. I mean, amateur shows and stuff, but I never really. Now I enjoy the professional shows because it's a lot more like fighting. Do you know what I mean? So you get the knockouts, you get the fights, the occasions, and you can feel there's a bit more on the line in professional boxing. And amateur boxing, of course, you want the Olympics, you want the Europeans, but you're allowed to lose and come back without it being a big deal as long as you're still performing. With professional boxing, a loss is like, oh, he's lost. So, it's interesting.
Now, I read you don't actually have like a massive amateur background with regards to how many fights you had.
Yeah.
So when you did turn over, what was the decision behind turning over with such a lack of amateur bouts behind you?
Just the fact that with the limited experience, I got to Olympics. So I thought, I don't want to wait 4 years to try to do it again. Why not turn professional and try to do what I would do as an amateur as a professional? So win the ABA's British title, win the Commonwealth title, win a European, win the world title. So all of that stuff in conjunction with the amateurs.
I mean, that experience of going to the Olympics, just try and talk me through Rio and what that was all like.
I mean, yeah, it was good. Obviously, I was more happy qualifying. At the time, my mindset was just get to Olympics. Wow, like I did it, because really and truly, I should never have gone to Olympics. I mean, I had 15 fights in what was it? I had 15 amateur fights in November 2015. So the Olympics was in the summer of 2016. So I had 15 fights. I was meant to be in the novices still, but yeah, I was there boxing against the best fighters in the world and managed to qualify for the Olympics in like under 20 fights, and then go to the Olympics. You know what I mean? So it was what it was. It was just a whirlwind, but I'm very good at just getting thrown into the deep end and being aware of what's going on and just going through it. You know what I mean?
I mean, what was it like in terms of the experience of Brazil itself and not the surrounding areas?
Yeah, Brazil was good. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Is that something for you that you'd like to do at some point in terms of just travelling around more and enjoying different places?
Yeah, but probably, when I get to the stage where I'm having less fights in the year, I'm having bigger, more meaningful fights, then I'd have a bit more time to do stuff like that. As for now, it's nice to go away after my fights, but travelling I think has to wait. I'll grow as a person after boxing.
So obviously, you turn over from your amateur days, but I still see you going up to do little bits in Sheffield, sparring and that. So what exactly, who exactly are you? Even are you sparring up there, and what do you get up to?
Yeah, all of the top amateurs. So what I believe is that if you're on the GB team, you're one of the best amateurs in Britain. So if you get 3 or 4 of them doing 3 or 4 rounds each, you've got, 12, 14, however many rounds with top class fighters for that many rounds. And they know they're getting out after 3 rounds, so they'll go for it. So matching them pace for pace, round after round, opponent after opponent, helps me get prepared for one human being who's going to get tired with me. That's it.
Is that what's key for you as well then? Obviously you've just mentioned the pace that the amateur boxers can come out at, because it's the style that they have to have in the amateur days. Is that what makes it key for you and your progression? Because you're still only, like I say, less than 10 fights next week when you fight Matty Askin. So you're very much still in that mindset where you can put it on people and go full pace.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, until you climb up the levels, it's like, and people can, like I said, I look for certain stuff that someone does in other fights before I go out and do what I do. So for the people that I've been boxing, I can see that they don't have the necessary, I don't want to say too much, but yes, I feel like the pace that the amateur set is much better than the professionals, and ultimately conditioning is very important in boxing. So that's one thing I definitely have, is good conditioning or great conditioning for cruiserweight. I choose not to throw too many punches, but I have the capability of going there and back at any time. So that's what I like about it.
I mean, everybody knows you have that power, that knockout power. So is there ever moments in fights when you just think, what, I just want to go for it, I just want to get this guy out of here and get my job done?
It depends on the person I'm fighting and how they're reacting. Yeah, of course, obviously, like as soon as I hit someone and I connect clean, I know no matter what they say or or how I know that they felt it. So I'll either try to put the pressure on, but it really depends. I'm really happy in the boxing ring, so I don't mind if it goes the full distance or the knockout. The knockout's always nice. People seem to like it a lot more, but for me personally, winning is always the most important thing.
I mean, with your physique and your build, do you feel that even that just influences people when they see you going in there with a six-pack, absolutely built up, and people are just looking at you thinking he's just going to walk over whoever he's fighting?
Yeah, but what you find out is muscles don't win fights. It's a good testament to my conditioning, because I'm not naturally like a ripped guy or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I've been big as a child, and if I take too long off, I put on weight. So I have to train to stay in this kind of shape. So I just more see it as a ideal or like a show of my conditioning. In terms of I see a lot of people with my physique, better physiques, not as fit, not as strong, not as fast, don't punch as hard. So you can't take too much from how someone looks, but when it comes to me, you can. Yeah.
And we've also both got a mutual friend up in the GB camp, Ben Whittaker.
Oh, my God.
Talk to me about Ben.
Yeah, no, he's sick. He needs to stay no higher than 81 kilos. He's a problem. Yeah, he's a real problem. He's very fast, very good thinker. Yeah, I like him a lot.
I mean, this was a while back now. I saw yourself, Ben and Josh Buatsi putting tweets out about do some sparring, no punches, or can't land any punches.
Oh, I can't punch on them.
Yeah, what was the...
Obviously because they're lighter than me, so I need to work on that. Slipping, various different defences. So that's what it is. And Ben's got range, so it's good to work with people with range as well to slip. Yeah.
I mean, for to spar like somebody like Ben as well must be ideal for you because of his style. He's very slippy, and he just can't get hit.
Yeah, I mean he can get hit, but yeah, not often. Yeah.
And I also saw the other day a little clip of yourself up in Sheffield with AJ getting a gold chain. Yeah. Just talk me through what that symbolised.
It's just obviously him and his core group have created something, and what it represents is obviously unity, loyalty, hard work, pushing yourself. Do you know what I mean? And it's not a case of 24/7. It's a case of working 25/8. So and it's just staying consistent. So that's what it represents.
We saw as well, like you was extremely appreciative of it and excited to receive it. So, it clearly meant a lot to you. So how come it did mean so much to you to receive that?
Obviously, Andy Joshua is someone that I've looked up to for a long time, and it's a bit weird because obviously he's been very accommodating and very friendly towards me, but I find it hard to be like, AJ's my friend, even though he brings me out places, so on and so forth. I still feel a bit away, but it's like when you get something like that, it's like, mate, like family, so it's good.
Obviously, yourself and Josh Buatsi are both under the AJ management banner. Yeah. Has Josh got a little chain yet?
Yeah, I believe there's one on the way, or he might have got it by now. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, sick.
So, talk to me then, like, about AJ himself. You know, you've just mentioned, like, you know, he's there for you, and you feel a bit awkward saying, "Oh yeah, AJ's my guy." So, what do you take from AJ when you have your private conversations with regards to boxing?
Yeah, just working hard, staying consistent, remembering that, you know, what's important. It's all good being on the big stages. It's all good, you know, that people stopping you, getting some money, whatever. But when it's all said and done, after we're finished, there'll be a new guy who's come off the Olympics that's getting knockouts. There'll be a new gold medalist. So it's about remembering, you know, family, close friends who are there for you, win, lose or draw, and going that way.
We were speaking earlier about the fact that this is going to be your 10th fight, and you're moving at the same pace that AJ did.
A little bit faster.
A little bit faster. But do you feel an added pressure to that, knowing that not just because you're under the AJ management banner, but because you're moving at a little bit of a quicker pace than what Anthony is, but you're possibly going to be catapulted into the world scene at some point in the coming future?
I don't really feel pressure with that because it's not like they're dragging me and saying you get in the ring and that's it. I'm happy that I'm choosing to do it. Do you know what I mean? Going back to Isaac, I didn't have to fight Isaac. Isaac didn't have to fight me, but it's drama. Let's push, make it happen. Watkins, Commonwealth champion, didn't have to fight him. I could have carried on until I was 15 and 0, getting great knockouts, highlights, whatever. I said I want things. Askins, I could have defended my Commonwealth title. I said I'd rather relinquish it and fight Askins than defend my Commonwealth. So I'm choosing these sort of steps. And at the end of the day, because I train hard, they pay off.
I mean, you've just mentioned, you know, Isaac. After the fight, a few things come out about what he'd been through after his campaign. You know, what did you make of all that when you was finding out?
Nothing. You know what I mean? He's now that the fight's over, I don't really feel nothing towards him. He's just another boxer. So it's obviously sad when you hear certain stuff. So as in there, I wish him all the best. And that's it, you know, if he does well, maybe fight again. Same as Luke Watkins. If Luke Watkins does well, maybe fight again. It's just is what it is. Boxing's just a case of winning, losing, and keep on going.
On the night of the fight, was you surprised that it did just turn out to be a scrappy affair and that neither of you could really maybe get going as much as what you would have liked to?
No, I wasn't really surprised. I was just happy to win. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, watching it back, I know there's certain stuff I had to learn. Same way I had to learn from all my fights, you know, the Blaze fight being the most important one to me, then Chamberlain. Yeah, good.
Headlining at the O2 in only like your 8th fight at the time, that must have brought a lot of pressure to itself. Did you feel that the occasion at all? How did you deal with the occasion of it?
I don't think it's the occasion. I think it's the style of me and Isaac. If we boxed at the York Hall, it would have been the exact same fight. If we boxed anywhere, it would have been the same fight. It's just the level. It's just about experience. The occasion, at the end of the day, I enjoy it. You saw how I came to the ring. I don't really get fazed by occasions. I've been at the Olympics. I've been at qualifiers. I've been in grudge matches before. So for me, it's nothing. But stylistically, me and Isaac matched up that way on that day. Same way I boxed Luke Watkins. I York boxed at the O2. It would have been the same thing. It's just styles.
Obviously, Isaac and Luke, two people who you've beaten. They've just had their fight announced. Both of their comebacks off the back of defeats to you. What do you think of that fight? How do you see it going?
I think it's a great fight. Very, very interesting. We've been talking about it in the gym here. I don't really want to comment on who I think is going to win or who I want to win or whatever. I will just say that stylistically it's a good fight. Isaac's got a lot of hand speed. You know, slip boxing knows how to get out of trouble well. By now he'll be coming to try and make a statement. Obviously after the fight me and him had. And his confidence will be high because obviously Watkins is coming off a stoppage defeat. However, Watkins is a very level-headed guy, very solid puncher, can punch a lot harder than Chamberlain, but Chamberlain's faster. So it's a thing where power meets speed, meets similar dimensions. So they both had to deal with the fact that I'm really tall, really strong. They won't have the same things. So I think their styles will gel much better.
Is this a fight that whoever loses, it may well be the end of their boxing career, or at least at a high level for a long period of time?
It depends on what kind of fight they have. If they have an amazing fight, no one loses. If someone gets blown away, then potentially, that is a big setback. I think it's more pressure on Isaac because Isaac has come from headlining the O2 to boxing Luke Watkins, and he's probably got a bit more notoriety. Like people know him more. But ultimately, this is boxing. They're both young guys, so losing is not the be-all and end-all. It's just about how you lose and how you bounce back.
Now, another huge fight in the cruiserweight division that Eddie's trying to sort out at the minute. He's just announced the signing of Usyk last week, him versus Tony Bellew. What are your thoughts on that once it gets made?
Yeah, sick. I think obviously you'd think that Usyk's the favourite, but ultimately, if someone's going to beat a style like Usyk, it would probably be someone like Tony Bellew because he seems to always find a way to win. And also, I feel Usyk is potentially susceptible to left hooks, so one of Bellew's best shots are left hook. So when I visualise it, I think Usyk could be outbox him and walk into a shot. As you see from his fight with Bradis, he's not invincible. He's a very, very good fighter, elite, world-class fighter, but he's not untouchable. He's not. He takes damage, gives damage, but he's just so fit and so clever. He gets the victories, but against someone like Bellew, who's also clever, it could be a very hard night for both of them.
He's looking to move up as well and looking at the heavyweight division. Eddie's mentioned the possibilities of fighting Anthony Joshua. What are your thoughts on that one if that was to happen?
I think it depends. Oh, with Anthony Joshua? I think Anthony Joshua will just be too big and explosive for him. As the rounds go on, he won't be able to. I don't know how to explain because he's not as big as AJ. With cruiserweights, he's got enough size where he can keep them off even without having massive power. But I think AJ will just grind him down. Worst case scenario, even if he's getting outboxed, he can just turn up the heat and that's it.
People have mentioned the fact that Usyk fought Joe Joyce as an amateur in the heavyweights. So do you feel that he wouldn't actually be able to adjust to the highest level at heavyweight?
This is the thing. So he'll be able to beat a lot of heavyweights. When you get to elite physical and elite mental, big guys usually beat little guys. So that's it. I mean, he beat Joe Joyce, but Joe Joyce was not as experienced as he is now, and it's over 3 to 5 rounds. So as you get into the later rounds, the heavier guys have an advantage unless you're taken out of them. But yeah.
And we'll just move back to yourself now as we begin to wrap up on the head towards your future and your boxing career. Not looking past Matty Askin, but say if once again you pick up the victory, what would you like to achieve for the rest of this year?
Rest of this year, maybe one more fight. Depends. It really depends on how the fight goes. I mean, as you saw, I'm punching very hard. I'm very agile. So hopefully the fight doesn't go long, but if it does, I'm fit. So hopefully I can get rid of him without any setbacks, and then go out in December.
I mean, you've mentioned I've just seen the power, I've just seen the punches. You mentioned the left hooks to Usyk earlier. I saw yours. Do you reckon you could do some damage to Usyk if you was to land one of them?
I feel like I can do damage to anyone, any weight. You get coming from I can hurt heavyweights, hurt thing, but ultimately it's not just about power. It's about knowing when and why you're punching. So that's it. And it's interesting you said left hooks because everyone's very interested in my straight right hand. So I think this fight will show a little bit of devastation. So yeah, we'll see.
Is this for you then a chance to show more skills that others may not have been looking out for previously?
Yeah, so it really depends how I feel or what Askins wants to come with. I know my first set style, but if he comes forward trying to change angles and other, then I'm gonna show you guys what savagery is. If he comes to have a boxing match and try to outbox me, then I'll show you some boxing skills. But overall, I'm just gonna impose myself on him and mentally, physically. I think it's going to get to a stage where I don't say to him, I'll just let him see.
So when do you think the time will come when we'll hear Lawrence Okolie being mentioned in the world stage?
Probably next year. As long as I can beat Askins, I'll get pushed into maybe the top 10-ish kind of area. Maybe have one, maybe 2 more domestic, and I'll start pushing onto European and worlds.
Well, Lawrence, I think we have covered everything, so thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Oh my days, yeah, no problem at all. Thank you.
Cheers.